Hey, Grace. Can you hear me? Hey, you.
Hey, woo!
Woo!
How's it going?
Oh, I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah, I like your library background.
Hey,
Where are
thanks.
you at?
Just in my living room. Yeah. Hey, Dylan. Thanks for joining. Um, yeah, I'm in my living room right now, but I figured it'd be easy for me to point at some of these people, who've inspired me along the way.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I like your hair. Yeah.
Thanks. Yes, it's the longest it's been in 10 years. So
Wow.
using a lot more shampoo these days. You can probably relate.
Yeah.
I've gotten away with this much for a long time.
Yes. Yeah. I
Yeah.
remember right after I donated my hair, I was teaching at Rock Canyon High School. They did this fundraiser and I donated a bunch of my hair. And then, old habits. I like go to the shampoo and it's like, and I'm like, oh, I don't need this much anymore. Yeah. It was a old habit to break. But yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, I donated my hair too. It was like amazing because it used to be super long before it was short. And then, yeah,
Yeah.
I love the light feeling, but I'm also loving not paying for haircuts. So,
Yeah.
perks of the pandemic. Yeah.
Yeah. So many crazy stories I'm teaching. I remember I was at middle school teaching a middle school class, and my hair was pretty long, like this long. Um, and this girl, like, I'm at my desk, I'm like doing my thing, and then this one of the kiddos, she was like in sixth grade, comes up, and I hear this snip, of like scissors. She cut part of my hair off, and,
What?
and I was like, what? Give me those
Okay.
scissors. And I'm like, that's
And
not appropriate. You shouldn't be doing that. And told her to go sit down. But yeah, I'll never forget that. This kiddo cut some of my hair.
oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Daniel as an art teacher. That would have been fun.
I loved it. I loved it. I was teaching some Zoom art this morning to a little girl, teaching her 1 point perspective.
Wow. How old is she?
I don't know how old Bella is. She's probably like, I don't know, 10 years old,
That's awesome.
maybe younger. She's probably like 8, actually. Yeah. It's fun, just I love teaching. I got to get my teaching fix. And you're teaching. I was on your website earlier and I saw that you offer classes and you could get a discount if they buy a bunch of classes. So that's cool.
That's true. Yes.
Little plug.
Yeah. We can get into all that, but yeah, I switched over to online teaching since Corona, of course, like all of us did. And yeah, I've been working mostly with adults, which has been nice because they like are really engaged. And I think I've been a little like hesitant to work with younger people,
Yeah.
because I think it's just like they're already so awkward, which I love in person. But online, it's just like so hard to get them to come out of their shell when you can't actually be in the same room with them. So props to all the, full-time teachers out there right now who are starting virtual this year. But
Seriously.
yeah, I do have a couple of teen students coming up, which I'm excited about. And that's just like one-on-one stuff. So it's fun. It
Yeah.
creates like a nice rhythm, I think, for the week to have a couple of teaching moments.
Yeah, definitely gets you in this mindset of, something on the agenda, something you got to really be organized for.
Yeah.
And Jim, our clothing art, he says, "How are you all? We're all doing well." I think he's a local artist here in Long Beach. I remember before COVID, I saw some of his artwork. He makes these cool little sculptures of like little monsters and such. Yeah, they had some art festivals downtown Long Beach, and he had one of the booths or tables. Yeah. So I remember your artwork, Jim R. Clothing Art. Thanks for tuning in.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
So
think,
this is the second time we've done this.
yeah.
And for me, this is only the second time I've ever gone live. So you're like an old pro, which is awesome. Um, but we found out last time that we get cut out after an hour. It shuts it down.
Yes, so I have the timer
This
going.
is
I have the
yeah.
timer going on my other phone, on my
So
phone.
this is part two.
Yeah, this is a continuation, and we want to talk about some of your art, what you've been up to, some questions. If you guys have questions out there watching, just type it in, and I think I can pin it for later. But yeah, just let us know if you have any questions, and we'll be happy to answer them. But in the meantime, we have some questions of our own. We're gonna talk about artwork.
Yay.
Yeah.
So I'm sure everyone who's watching this like already knows who we are a little bit. But in case someone only knows you or only knows me, I guess we can do a little like,
Little intro.
describe yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Grace, I want to know a little bit about your artwork and what inspires you, and a little bit of your story as a person, because I think that helps people connect with what you're doing, you know. So, can you tell us
Yeah.
a little bit more about that?
So I'm a realist painter, mostly in oils and quote unquote traditional materials like gouache or charcoal or graphite. And I paint observationally for the most part, until I guess the last few months I was working with models for the most part. Um, and I use photo reference as well, but like I think of myself as somebody who paints from life primarily. And so the subject matter is like more or less traditional subjects like still life or figurative, and you can fit it into those categories. But I'm really interested in using, I think, representational painting to.
Uh-oh. We froze. What's going on? Oh God. Oh no. I have internet. Grace, you froze. Oh no. Hmm. Grace, you froze. Oh no, you froze.
Oh my
Okay.
gosh, my internet's usually super fast.
Well, no
Um,
worries. We didn't lose
so,
much there. We're
okay.
just, some more people are joining. Feel free to ask questions,
Welcome.
guys. Grace is just telling us about her artwork and like the
Yeah.
kind of artwork she does.
Yeah, so I'm interested in using realistic painting to showcase people with identities or stories that have not been historically represented in the Western canon. So my main interest is in the figure and in portraits, and I think because it's who we are, and also particularly in representing the body, because my body and all of our bodies are a huge part of who we are, uh, and the way that we form our own self-image, the way that we present to others, determines a lot of what happens in our life. And so I think the body as a space is really fascinating. And I think what originally and what continues to keep me really interested in the body and in figure is my own experience as a burn survivor and someone who lives with burn scars, and also being a woman in a patriarchal world. So
Yeah.
I am really interested in the body as a political space and also celebrating, like just like all kinds of people. And I really find like painting skin to be really fascinating, just on a technical level. So I think, yeah, that's where my interest comes from in terms of the theme or the content of the work that I'm trying to do. And then I think for, why paint representationally or why I paint from life, I think that's more about just like slowing down and this meditation of like looking. And I feel like that is the way that I just like want to live all the time, just
Yeah,
like slow down and look at something and appreciate it and really observe and try to understand what you see. And, that whole uh, methodology or philosophy around like looking and trying to understand before you pass a judgment or before you make assumptions. So
yeah. About people
yeah,
or colors, you
Or
know.
colors
Yeah, in
and
nature.
values. Yeah.
Man, I felt like the time up in Montana, I learned how to see more, you know, and we can get more into that later. But I love all your little, you call them sketches, but your plein air studies of still lifes and, you know, your alla prima work outside. Really, really good stuff. You guys should check out our website and see that. And you
Thanks,
have behind you
Daniel.
a few of them, right? Like you have them in
Yeah, I have quite a
you.
few behind me. And I pulled them out because I'm gonna put some stuff on sale, I think next week. So
Yeah.
having a studio sale, which I'll be excited about because I get to reconnect with people.
Are you
And
you're doing it live
also
on
I might
Instagram?
do it live. I'm not sure. I haven't nailed down the details.
Oh,
So, but I am excited to be clearing out my studio a little bit. So,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. And you've been doing some plein air painting, Daniel.
I
So,
am.
tell
Yeah.
us about tell us about Daniel. Tell us about what Daniel's been up to because you've been on some journeys and you were part of a pretty prestigious art fest recently. So,
Yeah, yeah. Well, thanks
how
everybody
was
for
that?
joining. I see a bunch of people joining. Jackie's on here now. Hey,
Hey,
lady.
Jackie.
If you guys have questions, just let us know. I'm gonna talk a little bit about my time up in Montana at the Summer Art Fest. It was it was great to get out of Long Beach and go up to Montana. Jackie and I had never been there before. We got a chance to get out and go to Glacier, and that was really fun. Jackie was like a little kid climbing all over rocks and down the creeks. Like I thought she was gonna fall in a bunch of times. I'm like, babe, like, like, don't come back. But she was so eager to go out and I don't know, be a little kid, you know, walking out there. We got a lot of really good reference photos, and it was nice to go running and not see anybody, you know. Um, Down here, I just went for a run earlier today, and you know it's crowded, and you have to like I try and stay away from people, you know, as I'm running. So it was nice in Montana to avoid people for a while. But I got to meet some great artists up there, and Jackie and I stayed with Ron Riddick and Natalie Riddick. They were really gracious hosts. And Ron he's a master painter. He's so skilled at what he does, and I got a chance to go plein air painting with him, and it was crazy. He has this huge palette, and like you know, I have my little like compact painting book with like a little palette in there, and I'm like squeezing to you know like a little bit of paint out there, and he just like gets his, and he's literally got pints of oil paint, and he's getting a big old spatula and just like slapping paint down, and I'm going, oh my god, like look at
Yeah.
that paint. So anyway, he takes this easel out, and he's you know French easel, big old classic stuff, and I have a few pictures that I put on my newsletter. So I mean, if you go to my website, you can sign up for that, and I'll send it out. But there's you'll see it's a cool easel that he made himself. It's glass on the bottom and wood. And anyway, I'm going like, okay, he has had his thing and I have mine. So when I'm painting, you know, I'm looking at the colors, and we looked away from the sunrise, and then we looked at towards the sun, and then we did another painting the same day. And each time he'd come over, he'd be like, all right, you're doing this and this good, but you know, colors are warmer than you think, and colors are cooler than you think. So when you take it back into your studio, you're gonna see that, and you know, you don't remember, so you don't let yourself down. And that was a really good thing to keep hearing. He mentioned that over and over. And like this is the second painting I did, and it was looking into the sun, you know.
Beautiful.
And so I was like going blind, but yeah, like I'm trying to use more paint and lay it down thick. And he just looking at his paintings, I should probably post a picture of his. But he was like, these reds and greens in there, you gotta mute them and like pull the blues. He's just really good to paint next to. And I learned so much from him, and not just about, you know, using more paint and seeing colors, like really seeing color notes, like warm and cool notes,
Mm-hmm.
but also the color relations and how to make them pop, because nature gives you so much information. You have to filter it. You have to design it. And you have to make these judgments of going like, okay, I'm going to show all these trees with this texture, this pattern or whatever. And so you can have license there, where it's yellow, you might want to play with the complements, and where it's red, you want to put green there just to make some vibration happen, with the viewer's eye. That way it's not so dead and you liven it up. There's just little subtle things like that. And it was all going great. I was having a blast. And then we get to the third scene and I'm painting and I'm thinking like, oh, this is good. I'm so like, I'm better than I thought I was, And then all of a sudden my little canvas panel like flops down onto my palette, like face down. And I pick it up, and it's got the pools of color brightly on it, and I was so upset, and I try to save it, but it's good to be humbled once in a while by nature, a little gust of wind or something.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm hearing this and I'm just like, yeah, plein air painting.
Oh.
Grass every time.
Yeah.
And I feel like plein air for me, painting outside from like nature is just that skill building exercise, but it's also just like so fun to be outside, and it's like the funnest way to have your ass kicked, in painting is like really to just like be in the elements,
yeah,
and have to like simplify all this information, and then at the same time, you're probably getting sunburned and like it's raining.
There's bugs. Yeah.
And there's mosquitoes.
Yeah. It's fun. It's fun. I like plein air painting, and I need to do more of it because you really learn a lot painting from life, whether it's like in a studio with a model or outside. The light's changing so much. So there's a sense of urgency creating artwork from life that forces you to take risks and experiment. Where otherwise, if you were just all the time like using, still references or something, you'd be in your comfort zone the whole time, and there's no sense of urgency. So when you're painting from life or you're drawing from life, you grow as an artist, I think.
How do you feel like, because your work has a lot of landscape, it's like really central part of your subject matter. So how do you transition? Or how do you bring all that information into the studio, to make these paintings? Tell us about your process.
Yeah, so it all comes from, painting and drawing from life through learning how to see. And you take those lessons from life drawing and life painting, you take those lessons back to you in the studio, because the camera never captures everything. And the camera kind of does its own simplifications of colors and even like barrel distortion. It kind of distorts an image a little bit, and you could tell like, oh, this was taken with a telephoto lens, or this was taken with a 35 millimeter lens. So anyway, you can take your own experiences. Like the latest series I did, which I'm really proud of, the Western series, I was able to really talk about my perspective of the West growing up. And this newest series that I'm working on is a continuation of that. Kind of when I was a boy growing up on the Navajo reservation, I enjoyed what a magical little microcosm it was. There was canyons and sand dunes and, just ruins and all these things to explore as a kid. And I have really great memories. And so what I'm doing, I'm taking those memories and I can compose them on a piece of paper from knowing what a rock looks like, knowing perspective, and I can kind of create an imagined scene. And then if I need to, I'll get a model, and use them as reference. But a lot of it, just like a lot of illustrators, I mean, they create this from experience of having drawn so many things. So that's kind of what I'm seeing for the future. I would love to go back to the res and take some reference photos and maybe even do some painting and drawing out there. But it's weird right now. They got hit hard with COVID, and there's a curfew going on right now, and Canyon de Chelly, it's still closed to tourists. And so I won't be able to go there until later in the fall, I hope. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But I do think my part of my process is taking my own memories and imagination and mixing that with marrying that with the skills I've learned, from drawing from life and painting from life. Yeah.
Yeah, that just like opens up so many channels like to talk about. But I think it's worth it to say, because like the way that we met was like through this classical training program, Juliet Aristides Atelier, shout out Gage Academy of Art in Seattle.
Yeah.
Back, I don't know when, 19th century French academies for the Prix de Rome, that was like one of the competitions was doing a memory painting. Or like people would practice memory painting. So you go look at the model and then leave the room and then
Awesome.
painting in another room. And it's like, that's all we're trying to do is build our visual memory. And when you're just looking at something, from life, it's like, you still have to remember what it looks like, even if you just look away for a second. So I think it's fascinating. And like also just the way that like, are all of our paintings just memories and dreams? And is our imagination kind of just our memory projected? I don't know.
Yeah, we can get really metaphysical here.
Yeah.
But Princess Blintz has a question, and she asks, how was your recent artist in residence stay? Because I know you were in Oregon, right? You went down to Oregon.
Who asked that?
Princess Blintz.
Andy.
Andy, yeah.
Hey, Andy. Love you, miss you. It was great. Yeah. So my friend, really good friend, Ann Lutzo, who is a musician, we went together on this artist residency to Sue Wester, which is kind of this like funky vintage motel in Long Beach, the other Long Beach.
The other.
LBC, Washington. And it's like down on the southwest end of the state, like at the mouth of the Columbia River.
Oh, so it's not in Oregon?
It's like across the border from Oregon. It's like across the river. So
Gotcha.
The Columbia River is the border between Washington and Oregon. And yeah, it was so gorgeous. And it was just so nice to get out of the city for an entire week and kind of almost forget about coronavirus, but then not really because everyone's still wearing masks. But it was amazing. And yeah, I just got to practice plein air painting like every day. So I did at least 2 little paintings every day. And then a lot of that is what's going to go on sale next week. One of the, I don't know. It was like a lot of dealing with the elements like we were talking with. So it wasn't super hot, which I was really happy about. It was not 100 degrees. But there were a lot of birds. And I've never dealt with birds as an issue.
Yeah, how are they an issue? How are they an issue?
There was just a lot of birds. And one day...
yeah, let's get into the stories.
I was just like standing... I think because... So people also fish there. It's like there's a lot of migratory birds. And then I feel like it was like a serene version of an Alfred Hitchcock movie where it's just like, okay, we know everything's fine, but also this is the largest flock of seagulls I've ever seen in my life.
Wow.
And like, what if they just decided to like all swoop me at the same time? But one of the days there was an osprey. And like I was saying, there was a lot of fishing. And so these 2 fishermen were gutting a fish, like really close to where I was painting. And so I think there was like, the smell of like raw fish, delicious dinner was in the air. And this osprey like swooped me and it felt like it was just like 4 feet in front of my face.
Wow.
I screamed because I had never been that close to an osprey. And then the tide was coming in at the same time. So then my easel was like, you know, my feet were getting wet, the easel was getting wet, the osprey, the seagulls. That painting didn't turn out very well.
But you'll
it
never
was a lot of
forget
fun.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like that's like
What painting was that? Is it? Can you point to it,
it's
or can
not
you bring
it's
it?
not up. It's
Oh,
not.
okay.
Some of them just go in the garbage. But
Yeah, I
that's not
understand.
the point of plein air
Yeah,
painting, right? Like the
that's
point
right.
is like a boot camp. So I feel like this artist residency was like perfect because it was so much of that like landscape painting boot camp, dealing with the elements. It's like hot one day, it's raining the next. Like I said, too many birds for my taste. But all in all, like by the end of the week, I just felt like, oh yeah, like now I'm like, hey, like I'm getting there faster. I'm getting to capture the light a little bit faster, you know, than at the beginning of the week.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm
Luminosificationism says, P.S. Hi, Grace. I was swooped by a bald eagle and a great blue heron recently.
who is
XXX.
that?
Jen? Jen?
Jen.
Luminosificationism.
Oh, Jen Baker, what's up?
Okay.
Hi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
There's so many
so
birds down there, and
the
I would highly
birds,
recommend
birds.
anybody in Washington go down to Cape Disappointment State Park. It's
Cape
stunning.
Disappointment?
Cape Disappointment. Yeah, I don't know why I call that. I think because they were probably like a bunch of white settlers, and they were like, "I'm disappointed. This is the end of the land that I can conquer. This is the end of the earth." Uh,
I wonder why. Yeah.
I'm just ripping. But it was beautiful. Good question, Andy.
I'm glad you had such a good time.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the big things I really miss about pre COVID days is getting out, meeting with a bunch of artists and painting. I was doing those workshops, painting the landscape. That was fun. I missed
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
It's also fun to teach, but like when you're alla prima painting with a bunch of artists teaching, it's like you kind of go from one to the other, and everybody's kind of doing their thing, and you might say a little something, and it's really chill. It's not like a classroom teaching where there's a schedule and stuff. Oh, hey, mom! My mom joined.
Daniel's mom.
Woo!
I bet my mom is lurking on here too.
Oh, okay.
So last time this is a sidebar about my mom. Last time we did this, she was like, "Oh, I saw your podcast."
That's awesome.
I know. It was awesome. She was really excited.
It is cool, because where else can people? That's what I love about this weird Corona, like new territory we're in, where people can they're really comfortable jumping online now. Like up in Whitefish, I was talking to Seth Hopkins. He's the director of the Booth Museum in Georgia, which we got to go check out. And I told him, everything's changed. I had an online art show. Even my dad got a Facebook account for the day just to check it out, because I think it's weird. Well, it's not weird. I think it's great that people are being forced kind of into this digital zone where they can connect through distance. And I hope some of it stays, hopefully once coronavirus is gone. And I think there's a way to have an art show in the future where you can make going live part of it,
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's really, you're getting a chance to say hello to people who otherwise might not be able to come. I know my dad can't come and my mom, because they have all these animals that they always use as an excuse. They're like, "Oh, we can't leave the goats. Who's going to take care of the goats while we're gone?" And, so I think that's great that they can tune in from afar. But I don't know. Have you felt like that at all?
Yeah, I think it's increased accessibility, like in a certain way. Absolutely. Like the couple of classes that I've taught, like, you know, people signed up from Michigan and
Wow.
Arizona, you know, and like out of state. And so people can tune in from really far away, which is amazing. And I've watched other people do demos like in New York,
Yeah,
which, like, you know, West Coasters, like, how often do we get out to New York? So I think that's been amazing. But I definitely miss, yeah, the kind of real connection that we have
absolutely.
in person.
It's
Um,
been stressful for sure. There's been some really bad stresses, especially to us artists. I think,
mhm.
you know, we're sensitive to certain things, and I'm thankful that I have my running to kind of I call it my active meditation, you know, and it helps me process things. Is there something you do besides your artwork?
I think normally I would go swimming. So yeah, I told you about this. Like, I really love to swim, but the pools have been closed because of COVID. And so I've been swimming a little bit in Lake Washington here in Seattle. And that's like, you know, in Seattle, we just like freak out in the summer and everyone goes to the beach, even though it's like rocky beaches.
Yeah, yeah,
So I've been doing a little bit of swimming this summer, which has been nice. But
nice.
honestly, just like going for walks now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Like, I'm trying to just be in nature, even like in our neighborhood, you know, like
yeah.
noticing like all the birds. And my partner Sergey is like really into birds now.
Oh, really?
So he's got a bird ID book, and we're
Nice.
moved. We're on the third floor, so our patio is like at the tree line, and we're now eating. This is just like all new in the last 2 days. We're eating breakfast on the patio, and it's been so fun because I'm just talking about birds the whole hour, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah,
let's do it.
yeah.
Let's
We've been,
hashtag Audubon. Like,
yeah, like at Audubon Society,
yeah.
hit me up because our patio is like a primo bird watching location for an urban area. A bunch of crows tried to swoop us this morning. And like we saw a Stellar's jay today
Nice.
too, which is really cool. Yeah, so I feel like, I don't know, if I meditated, like, it would be more just like go out in the woods or look at a tree. That's
Yeah.
what I'm doing. That's what I'm doing these days.
You
Yeah.
know,
What other strategies do you have? Or I could just ask you, how do you feel like COVID has changed, you know, your art practice or your mindset about what you're doing?
I've become more comfortable being in front of a camera.
Mm-hmm.
It was so weird at first. I didn't like the sound of my voice. I thought, you know, I should. I was just utterly uncomfortable, you know. So I think it's just doing it a few times and just I think people appreciate the honesty and the genuine communication. I think now more than ever because everybody's kind of reaching out and they want to connect. But your story of crows, I want to go back to that because I love crows,
I know.
and there's a story. My brother, he actually stole a fledgling crow from a nest and raised it. And it was he called it Joe the Crow. The craziest thing is I didn't know about this until I came back from college and I'm, you know, visiting home and I walked into like the back porch and it had like a little cover on the back porch. So I'm just sitting there and my brother's sitting there and all of a sudden this crow comes in, flies down and lands on his shoulder and I'm, you know, in my chair like, oh my God. And he was like, oh, hey, this is Joe the Crow. You know, he's my pet. And I was like, oh my God. So, you know, just They're so smart and clever, and you know, magpies too. I love all the corvids, and so anyway,
Oh
hopefully,
gosh.
an interesting fact: a group of crows is called a murder. So you can, yeah.
Yeah,
Anyway,
into that.
I just had to share that crazy story of ranch life because, of
Yeah, I
course,
feel like I think Sergey's gonna do that pretty soon. I think
yeah,
he's probably gonna adopt Pet
raise a
Crow.
crow.
This guy.
Yeah, people do that, and they can like teach them to talk and stuff.
Oh
I
my
don't
God.
know, like I'm,
We're getting
you
on
know,
tangents.
that's a painting. That's a painting right there. You know, my brother sitting with his crow on his shoulder, and
You
me
should
just being,
absolutely paint that. That would be
yeah.
really cool. I would love to see that painting,
I
especially
really,
with all that texture. What you were saying about Ron Riddick's texture, it's like when I look at your work, that's what it's something that is so hard to translate through the virtual platform because your work has a lot of texture and it's really sculptural. And yeah, when you were telling me like, oh, I want to use even more paint, it's like, what?
yeah, I
Like,
know.
your paintings are already like compared to like I'm used to. I don't know. I'm using a little bit more texture now, but it's just so much a part of your work and like your process to really build
Yeah.
up the layers. So,
Well, thank
what do
you.
you? Yeah, I mean, I'll go on all day. Love your work, Daniel.
Oh, tell me more.
Um,
Yeah.
what do you feel like is something else? I don't know, like another silver lining of the pandemic for you right now. Like you talked about becoming more comfortable on camera, like,
That's a good question.
or
You
maybe
know,
what do you feel like? Yeah, you're proud of. Like, what
I
are you
think
really proud of in the last
it,
couple of months here?
yeah, that question kind of leans into that. I've been able to unplug a lot more. Ironically, even though I'm in front of the camera a little bit more, I'm able to have time to really reflect and think about what I want to do as an artist. What's my voice? What's my next series going to be about? I really enjoyed doing some Western work that stemmed from my own perspective of the West, and I was kind of playing with these ideas of how I saw certain, you know, buffalo, or how I saw these sheep that I worked with, and even like people I know. And now, like, I really like the imagery and I like the emotions, but now I really want to tell a story. And the story I want to say is like of my time growing up as a boy in this crazy, like, Chinle playground that I had on the reservation. And I feel like had I not had this time to really write, I write it down. Like in the morning, I have my coffee and contemplation time, and I have my coffee and I write postcards out, and sometimes that's my journal, but other times I actually will write in my journal, and it helps me get my thoughts down and just kind of figure out what's important to me, what direction do I need to go. And so I think if it wasn't for coronavirus giving me this time to really think about what's important to me, kind of reprioritizing, I don't think I would have come to this maybe until later, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So it's definitely fast forwarded my focus.
Yeah, I'm so
What about
excited
you?
to see. Well, I'm so excited to see what comes out of that. I think yeah, it's just critical,
Thanks.
this sense
Thanks.
of welling, mining the deep well, of your
Yeah.
past. I think that's awesome. And I think your voice is really important. So,
Yeah.
I also feel like it's just been a time of a lot of reflection and yeah, when like the rest of my kind of social circle and like normal life evaporated, after the first couple of weeks, it was just, that was sort of the novelty period. But then I really feel like I started thinking about like, wow, what am I really doing? And I'm a year out of school. So I feel like I'm really proud of just continuing to paint every day in the last year and to have done, a number of commissions and to have kept up teaching and building that and becoming a better teacher in the last year. But that's not my the thing that keeps me going, you know? Like
Yeah.
artists are always multifaceted, and I think that there's, you know, we do things for maybe a higher purpose. And I'm trying to figure out what that is. But one thing that I've settled on is I am really interested in setting up and have started a series of technical experiments around composition. So I am teaching myself art history and
You got a
using,
really quick. You got a
yeah,
question. What do you prefer, painting, still lifes, or portraits?
I prefer portraits. Yeah. But I also love still life just for, I don't know, practice or,
Yeah. And
yeah,
then another one before you go on is a lot of forced reflection on ourselves. So much growth to take advantage of. Yeah, it's a good
yeah,
point.
definitely.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Raven. Oh, and Raven is the name of my cousin, a wheel walker 3. So
Awesome.
yeah,
Hey, cousin.
yeah,
Yeah, it is like forced reflection time, like whether you like it or not, honestly. So, yeah, like it's been too much reflection time, maybe.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
my focus, I think, has wavered a lot because I don't have the normal,
Well, you just
you know,
moved, also. Like,
yeah, I feel like I moved studios at the beginning of the summer and then I just moved like where I live. So there's been a lot of exciting things happening, but also they're disruptive to kind of just like the calm that I need to
yeah,
focus. But what I was saying is I really value the skills that I learned through the atelier and practicing classical realism and painting observationally, but a lot of the work that I'm really attracted to um, is a little bit more surreal or slightly abstract. Not that it's abstract work, but like it's work that veers slightly away from realism or has like some element that allows the paint to speak for itself. So,
yeah,
you know, just like the formal elements and the content, I think, should be treated in equal measure. And so I am going through kind of major periods in art history, starting with Greco Roman and looking at work from each of those time periods, and then trying to figure out how they're being constructed. So, and then setting up some kind of project that allows me or forces me to practice that and just like trying. So, what it's forcing me to do is to try new types of compositions and also painting or describing and painting in slightly different ways.
yes. And you're so multifaceted. Like, you got all these different skills to do that. Clearly, you're a great figurative painter, but if you get a chance to see some of Grace's still lifes on her website,
Mm-hmm.
some of the stuff you're working on is, I love one of the still lifes you did with like the Chinese takeout food and like the broken glass. I just love that one so much.
Thanks.
And let's see, Lucinda wants to see the painting behind you. She says, "Can I see the painting behind Grace? Can you tell us a little bit about it?"
Yeah, I would love to. This is a work in progress. I'm going to take my camera off the tripod here.
Yeah,
So I can
zoomed in.
zoom in for you guys. This is a painting of my friend Claudia, and actually it hasn't been really published in full anywhere except for on my Instagram, but here we go. So I'm really not holding the camera very well. There we go. So this is a friend of mine, Claudia, and she is a fellow burn survivor. So I know her through the community of burn survivors here in Seattle, and she's just a wonderful, um, really like upbeat, kind person. And here I'm going to zoom in. So this is in progress
Oh,
on
look at her eyes. Wow.
portrait. So
The pinks.
I'm definitely doing at least one more pass on the face.
Mm-hmm.
And this is so funny because I started this more than 6 months ago. But when you do, when you're an artist for your job, like teaching and commissions, like sometimes take over. And this is just one of my personal projects. And I was hoping to, let's see.
Look at that texture. Yeah, you can see
Yeah.
the texture. That's lovely.
Yeah. So I'm hoping to create a series of portraits of people who have burn scars. And I'm really excited to do this because I just really want to increase representation.
And she's holding her belly.
Yeah, so she was 5 months pregnant in this, and actually now she's had a kid. So this is how long this project has been going on. Um,
But that's beautiful. You were able to, capture that moment and represent her well. I think it's lovely. Yeah.
And I have a friend who just bought this little study from me in Germany, and she's pregnant, or like she just had a kid. And she was like, "Oh my God, I'm so excited, to like see this painting because this one is like having a child and then having the experience of being pregnant." She was like, "Wow, yeah, I never see, you don't really see a lot of images like in artwork of people at this like stage in their life." So I don't know. That was sort of like a coincidence. I didn't even know that she was going to be pregnant until she showed up at my studio.
How lovely.
Like, all right.
Yeah.
We were just going to do a portrait, and then I was like, no.
Yeah, you go big, yeah.
This is like a special moment, so.
Lucinda says, I love her eyes.
Thank you. Really appreciate that. Yeah.
That's my mom.
Oh.
Yeah.
Thanks, Daniel's mom.
Yeah. We ought to have you down at the ranch sometime, and we'll paint there. Yeah.
I would love to.
That would be awesome.
That'd be so much fun.
Luminosificationism had asked how teaching remotely has been for you, but both of you do that now, so yes. Thank you, Raven, for letting me know. I didn't catch that question, but yeah, how has teaching remotely been for you?
It was a tough transition in the beginning. I was just really resistant to it. Like 5 minutes.
10 minutes left, yeah.
Yeah, I think that I was just like really resistant to going online in the beginning. And then the first class I taught, I realized it's like a lot of work. It's a lot more work than teaching in person. So, it's, I really value like the demos and the online. I've watched like some demos online. Like I really value what people are doing around that because it is not easy to be that organized. Like I think you have to be more organized.
Yes.
It's become really easy to be on camera and to like do the classes, but there's just a lot that can go wrong with
Raven said even just the technical setup.
The technical setup was really hard.
Yeah.
Daniel, how did you we're survivors.
just trial and error. I tried to post a video of my time in Montana, and I was like, I'll just put it on Instagram, but then it cuts off after a minute, so I have to reload it, and then still didn't work. And then I had to learn that you have to download this other app called whatever that Instagram makes, but you can only have it 15 minutes. Anyway, so I'm still learning, and it's not perfect, but I think there's effort there. I did want to ask, though, how have you maintained your silliness during this time? I like how we discussed that, so I didn't get to hear your answer, though.
My silliness.
Yeah.
Let's see. I just, just gotta, I don't know, stay silly. You just have to laugh. If you're not laughing, you're crying.
Yeah. There's
So,
that meme that I sent you. It was like Will Ferrell as like Buddy the Elf, and like the world's on fire, and he's like, "Does anybody want to buy my painting?" Like,
yes.
yeah, you just
It's
have to
like,
laugh. You have to laugh. Like,
yeah, you have to laugh, Daniel. And I feel like there's just things that, well, like on teaching online, it's such a bizarre. Okay, here's the funniest thing that's happened is like when I was learning how to do that, I was practicing, I did a practice Zoom class, okay? And so this was like using my guinea pig, AKA my partner, okay? So Sergey is like sitting in our bedroom on a laptop and zooming me from the living room. And I'm like practicing, you know, my lesson with him
that's
on
great.
Zoom. And he's like right there, you know? And I was like, is this my world now? Like the world has shrunk to these two people, just me and him. And
Yeah.
now we're zooming each other from different
I
rooms in our house.
I'm so sick of hearing that word Zoom. Ugh, like I hear it so much. But
So,
yeah, I completely understand. It's like that print giveaway that I did, you know? I was like, okay, I'll do this print giveaway and like share my art with people and try and connect with people in the art community online a little bit more. And, you know, the winner didn't respond for a while, so I sent out another email. I'm like, hey man, like, are you gonna send me your address to mail this to? And he responded. He's in the Netherlands. So I'm like, okay, this is great. So, you know, I'm happy to, you know, connect with people all over, but then there's like, oh, shipping to the Netherlands is not cheap. I'm like, all right, lesson learned. But you know, I threw some extra goodies in there so it can be like worth it. But I feel like there's a lot of things I'm learning as I go, you know, and part of it is I think people like the genuine, you know, story behind all of it. Like they don't, even if there's like a little mess up here or there, that like whatever. If we run
yeah.
long, we'll just keep going. We'll start over for another hour, you know, and
Well, and I think the question behind this is like, why are we doing what we do right now when it seems
yeah.
so silly? And, you know, we've adapted to going online, we're selling work online, and that's opened up a lot of doors, and we've been able to connect with a lot more people. But, like, it's been really hard and it's been isolating. So, like, what do you feel like keeps you going?
I am so optimistic by nature. I look at forward. I'm really excited to keep adjusting until we land in this new space that's kind of opened up and we figure out what the new normal is going to be. Like I'm so excited. I can't wait for rock shows to come back and go to a concert. I want to go to all the art shows. And so I think right now is like just setting that up, like really connecting with people like, hey, I am looking forward to seeing you in person. I hope you can come see my art show in person, you know. But it's reminding people that yes, this is not normal. This time right now is not normal, and there's a something that's going we're going to connect again. I think that's my optimism.
Mm-hmm. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you?
I think that people are really starved for creativity, and I just think that I don't know what I'm doing. It just reminds me that there is still good in the world, and
Yeah.
I think that when people look at art or music, hear music, whatever it is, even now, it's just like the thing that reminds us that this is like what we're fighting for, and it needs to be preserved. And I don't know. I don't think that way like every day in the studio. I'm just like, yes, I'm saving, you know, humanity here.
Yeah.
I think it's just like, yeah, like I'm doing a thing that is still really important, and yeah, it just makes me feel human, and I think that it's keeps that connection going. Yeah, like you said, for like when we can actually be together again. So
Yeah. And
yeah.
And my mom's saying like, this will be going on for quite a while, and I agree. I think it's going to continue to last. But you gotta, masks work. They work. Like, so I just gotta keep wearing my mask. I hope
Yeah.
everybody just keeps wearing the mask for like just 3 weeks. Just everybody just look like a bandit for 3 weeks, so we don't have to keep wearing masks. Like just do it. So
yeah,
right.
I wish things could be different.
Yeah. Well,
but this has been so lovely. And
I know. Time flies by. We got like 1 minute left.
We have 1 minute left.
Yeah, I know. This is crazy. I feel like the hour just goes by so quickly.
I know.
So maybe
we'll do this like monthly. Maybe we should do that. Some kind of, we can start picking topics.
Yeah, and that way it's not so random. We'll do I want to hear more about your runaway story. That was adorable. And yeah. So
for the next time.
Yeah, next time. All right. Well, Grace, we miss you, and it was great to see your artwork. Okay.
Thank you guys, everyone, for tuning in, and I'm excited we can post this, and I hope that you guys enjoyed this spitball conversation about art.
I know.
It's always a pleasure.
All
right. Take care. Bye.